Hi everyone, welcome back to the Tina Creates YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me again today. Today I'm using the Altenew Billowing Peonies stamp set and I'm using this Van Gogh Black Watercolour paper. And today we are 100% card making. There's no digital die cutting, there's no computers, there's just card making, which I do like to show on this channel sometimes because I find it incredibly relaxing, and that's what you will see as we get into this video. I'm going to show you the watercolouring process. I am no expert watercolourist, but I think today as you watch this video you'll find that this lovely embossed image is probably one of the best ways to have a go. If you ever haven't been sure about watercolouring or how to use it on your cards, just emboss an image because you are painting in the lines. I have done a watercolour course in the past with a local artist, and the techniques that she taught us were second to none. It really formed a basis to probably how I've just started to paint again today. So I hope that you'll enjoy that process, but it takes practice. It's not just a one and done technique. So what we're doing here is I don't stamp a lot. I don't do stamping and embossing on my cards a lot. I'm a bit of a mix. So this is probably one of the best sets to start with. This design's just beautiful. There's a lot of large areas, and it really lends to the finished product. I'll be showing you the embossing process in a moment. The embossing process, as you can see, was a bit of an issue for me today because it took me about 4 or 5 goes for the impression of the stamp to show up correctly on the paper. Why this was, I don't know. I think it might have been my stamp positioner. I've noticed it's done it a few times in the past, but I did need to use it because it's probably the only one that fits this stamp. So I even tried, I think, different embossing pads as well, or realised one was too dry, and so I went over and tried another one. Once the image was finally crisp and it was embossed well and I could see all of the fine lines from the stamp image, I am then applying my embossing powder. Now in this card I decided to use a silver embossing powder, thinking about their watercolour colours that I was eventually going to use, and also knowing that usually your silvers and golds come up really well on black cardstock. This is a Silver Wow embossing powder. I apply it quite liberally, and I even go over it and look at it quite carefully just to make sure that I haven't missed any sections or spots, because the last thing I want on a large image like this is for there to be little areas that have been missed. And now for the heat embossing. Now if this isn't the best part of the entire card making process today, then I don't know what is. Look at how that silver comes up on this image in particular. Isn't it amazing? I always love to watch this. I think any card maker likes to watch this. I think this is our own therapy, isn't it? It embossed beautifully. So nice and clean. And it is ready to take down so that I can start watercolouring. Just tidying up a few spots. I didn't want to end up watercolouring into embossing powder that hadn't been set. I'm now ready to start the watercolouring process, but I just want to get a combination of colours going. Pull out my Gansai Thambis, pull out a inexpensive new watercolour pan set that I got online just to see what the colours are like. I end up actually pulling out just my Gansai Thambis and my traditional premium marketing watercolours that you'll see in a second, and I just sort of mix between the palettes because I think looking at these very small pans I was overwhelming myself a little bit too much, so I didn't end up using them, but I did want to see how they worked on black cardstock. If you're interested in this palette, even just for practicing, I'll link it down below in the description. It's a pretty good setup of colours if you're just playing around or you just want to get used to using these watercolours. And I finally find a combination of colours that I'm happy to use on the image. I use my eyedropper to make sure I've got plenty of water in the paints so that they apply well and that they mix together and blend together well. I'm using the wet on wet technique, and you'll see this as we go into the watercolouring footage now. Now we come to what is the relaxing part of this video. I hope you'll enjoy the watercolouring process, and I'd love to read your comments below if you do. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the watercolour process, and I hope it was relaxing for you today, no matter what you're doing. Just cutting down my card design, I've cut myself a black A5 Australian size card base. Eventually, being black, I'll just cut out a white panel to place inside the card so that I can write my message to whoever's receiving the card onto it. Just cutting my image down so that it fits at full size on the front of my card. I've chosen a sentiment that is from Spellbinders. I will link those sentiments in the description below. I foiled it in a nice violet sort of reflective foil, toner foil that is, not a hot foil, and I thought it lent well to the colours that I used in the watercolour piece. Just getting a few nicks out of the base of my card because it was just a little bit too wide to my watercolour panel. And just working out the placement of my sentiment. I felt like it took me about 10 minutes to do this today, so I wasn't going to have you sit through that process. I just didn't know where to do it, didn't know where to put it. But I finally decided to place it at the bottom of the design. so it was sort of nestled amongst the flowers. Applying some adhesive dot runner to my card base. Applying a lot of adhesive because it is quite a thick cardstock and I want it to adhere nice and solid to the base. Lining it up. This alignment process is easy. I've got no other panels to align up to the back of the card. Pulling out some very thin foam squares. I didn't want to use thick foam squares so that it would sit too high above the card. There's already enough going on in the card design with that Billowing Peonies image that I didn't want the sentiment to overtake it or shadow it. I have these embellishments from Craft Consortium, the Belle Fleur Enamel Dots collection. Just wanted to add a little something extra to my finished card. Working to the rule of threes again. Not in design, but in embellishments. Just working out the final placement. Wasn't quite happy with one of them. Here is the finished card with all its reflective goodiness. I hope you enjoyed today's video and I'll see you in the next one.